Why WWE has to label all of its different eras, I don't know. Especially when you get names such as the New Generation. Doesn't sound exciting, doesn't sound like anything. It barely makes sense. But serving as the slogan for the revamped WWF in the early 90s after the likes of Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man Randy Savage were deemed past their prime, it opened the door for names now that are synonymous with the industry. Names such as Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Kevin Nash, and Repo Man. It was also a time where occupational gimmicks were all the rage, meaning tax attorneys and garbage men stood tall too. Sometimes wrestling really is nonsense. I'm Simon from What Culture, and this is 10 New Generation Era WWE Superstars you totally don't remember. Number 10, Jean-Pierre Lafitte. Many of us remember the real name Car Ouliette as Pierre, one half of the Quebecers, where he had a decent run. But that only lasts so long when we're talking about the new generation, and that's why he was repackaged as Jean-Pierre Lafitte, who was a pirate. Because he was a pirate, he wore an eye patch and somehow managed to get into a feud with Bret Hart of all people in 1995. And even more bizarrely, lasted 3 months. Don't think this started over anything serious either. Bret was mad because Lafitte had stolen his glasses, and he had stolen his jacket. Rumour has it a few months later he butted heads with the Clique, which is why he was soon released. Number 9, Oscar. We all remember Men on a Mission. Comprised of Mabel and Mo, it was the launching pad for Mabel, who would have a decent run as Viscera/Big Daddy V throughout the years. What everyone forgets though, is that they also had a manager called Oscar. He primarily existed because Men on a Mission, or MOM as the WWE love to call them, needed someone to represent the O. Because, you know, then it's Mabel, Oscar, and Mo. Why the A got completely ignored, I don't know. Unfortunately for Oscar, he didn't last very long because once the decision was made to turn them heel, they mauled their manager and that was that. It was said the powers that be were happy to keep the group together, but Oscar was horrified at the thought of being a bad guy and retired from wrestling instead. Just quite the way to fight back against such a decision. Number 8, Sion. I have such a vague recollection of Sion that there's every chance I'm not even pronouncing his name right. He is but a blip in the history books of pro wrestling. He is, however, the reimagining of the Barbarian when WWE decided they had the perfect idea to finally get him over. What was that idea? To make him the third head shrinker. The biggest question, of course, is who in the hell actually thought that was a good idea. But yes, the Barbarian became Sion, and he only made one appearance on pay-per-view under that name, where he got his ass handed to him by Diesel at the 1994 Survivor Series. In total, he only made 17 TV appearances too, so people were very clearly behind the concept and his push. Honestly. Number 7, Brackus. Sounding more like a character from Mortal Kombat than anything else, Brackus, a former Mr. Olympia competitor, was given a WWE contract in 1996 after training alongside the likes of The Rock and Mark Henry. As you already know, his career didn't go as well as theirs did. Wrestling mostly in dark matches for 2 years, he eventually got given the green light to shoot some vignettes to signify his arrival on TV. But that never happened. Instead, he vanished, popped up in ECW for a while, then returned to the WWE in 1998 and got fired. He only ever had 3 matches on TV and now is just fodder for lists such as this. So thanks, Brackus. For that, I appreciate it. Number 6, Jesus Castillo. When the NWO exploded, so did Stables. All of a sudden, that was the cool thing to do, and getting as many as possible onto WWE TV became priority number 1. That's why we had DOA, that's why we had The Nation, and that's why we had Los Boricuas. The problem with all these groups, however, was that so many people got lost in the shuffle, they were just nameless faces standing with their mates. Someone who suffered from this terribly was Jesus Castillo, a man you probably recognise when he's with his running buddies, but you have no clue once he's separated from them. He is one of the least remembered people in history, and it makes me sad. Let's all start taking the time to keep him in our thoughts. Number 5, Rad Radford. You know you're in for a hard time when you get given the name Rad. I mean, Rad is never going to be WWE Champion. Hell, Rad is never going to be anything. Trying to tie into the grunge scene though, WWE signed one Louis Spicolli and dubbed him Rad Radford. He even came with the story that he was Courtney Love's boyfriend and that he wanted to join the Body Donners. What the f***? Unsurprisingly, he lasted less than a year on TV before he was released following a Soma overdose, which isn't good. He was able to beat the Hardy Boys during his run, but that's when they were nobodies too. So this wasn't very successful. Number 4, Freddie Joe Floyd. You probably know the name Tracy Smothers. He has a reputation in the industry, but never really made it to the top. When it came to the WWE though, he wasn't Tracy Smothers at all. Now, you may be thinking, well, I can understand that. It's not the most riveting of names, but that idea is thrown out the window when you learn Vince & Co. dubbed him Freddie Joe Floyd. rate. Nothing more than a glorified jobber during his run, he was able to have a couple of highlights, namely being able to pull out a win against Justin Bradshaw, or JBL in 2016, and got a count-out win over Triple H, which is pretty good, even if it was with help from Mr. Perfect. He was able to lose to the likes of Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mankind and Diesel though, so at least he got to hang out with the stars. Number 3, Man Mountain Rock. Now, I actually do remember Man Mountain Rock, but only because part of his gimmick was to play a badass WWF logo guitar. Outside of that, however, the concept was awful. Rock's whole shtick was that he loved rock and roll. That was it. He loved it so much he played his axe to the ring while shouting, "If it's too loud, you're too old," which makes no sense, and isn't true in the slightest. Seemingly well too into the lifestyle, Man Mountain kept getting in trouble with the company because of his fondness for marijuana. He was also injured a lot. Between the two, he was gone in less than a year. No one has any idea what he's doing now. Number 2, Tank. Remember what we said about Los Boricuas? It continues here with the Truth Commission, but this time, it's even worse. In real life, Mac Halleck is, well, Mike Halleck. But when it comes to the WWE, he's a frontrunner for some of the worst gimmicks ever. For starters, he was Mantar, a dude that was half man and half bull. More like bullshit. But in 1997, he returned to the company as Tank, a masked member of the Truth Commission who was as boring as bread. He was put under a hood in case, shock horror, anyone recognised him as Mantor, which they wouldn't have done, but it only caused him to blend into the background even more. He is undefeated on WWE TV, however. I mean, he only wrestled 2 matches, but he won both. So he's a hero to us all. Number 1, The Pug. You know you're doomed when you get dubbed The Pug. The Pug is never going to headline WrestleMania, and The Pug is not going to last long in the memory. Portrayed by the real-life Alex Porto in 1996, The Pug was meant to be one badass amateur wrestler, but apparently this didn't transfer across to the professional ranks at all, because he pretty much lost every match he was in. Well, he beat Barry Horowitz, but I'm not sure that's something to write home about. Unless your dad is The Pug, then he'd probably appreciate the letter. Unsurprisingly, he was gone by 1997, although he did reappear at WrestleMania 25 as one of the John Cenas during John Cena's entrance. Which is weird, all things considered. Know of any other new generation forgotten stars? Let us know in the comments below, and then remember to like, share, and subscribe. You can even come tell me on Twitter at SimonMiller316. I'm Simon from What Culture, and I'll talk to you again soon.